All right, let's get right into it. The metaverse. You hear the word everywhere, right? Billions of dollars are being poured into building it. But today, we're going to tackle the single most important question. What, on a psychological level, would actually make someone want to log in? And that's really the big puzzle here. I mean, tech giants are betting the entire farm that these virtual worlds are our future. But for all that hype, getting people to actually show up is, well, it's not a guarantee. So what does the science say it'll take to get us all on board? So first, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. For this explainer, we're defining the metaverse as a 3D virtual world. The big idea is that it's the next step for the internet. You're not just looking at a screen, you're actually inside the content. And that brings us right to the problem that researchers are trying to crack. This isn't really a question about technology. It's a question about people. What are the psychological triggers that shape our attitude, that make us even want to try this thing out? Well, a recent study went looking for the answer, and it zeroed in on 5 key psychological factors. Think of these as the mental levers that researchers believe will decide whether we all jump into the metaverse or just kind of let it pass us by. Let's break them down one by one. First up, we've got perceived usefulness. This is the simple, practical test. Does this thing actually do anything for me? Is it going to help me work better, learn something new, or connect with my friends and family? It's the bottom line for any new tool. Second is perceived ease of use. And this one is all about effort. Am I going to have to fight with this thing? Is it going to be a clunky, frustrating mess? Or is it going to feel natural and intuitive right from the get-go? Third is something called self-efficacy. Now, this is really just about your own confidence. It's that gut feeling you get when you see a new piece of tech and you think, yeah, I can get the hang of this. It's your belief in your own ability to figure things out. The fourth factor is just good old-fashioned human curiosity. You know that little voice that says, ooh, what's that? It's that internal pull to explore a new digital world just because it's new, because you want to see what's behind the curtain. And finally, number 5, perceived pleasure. This one is crucial. It throws all the practical stuff out the window. The only question here is it fun? Is just being in the metaverse an enjoyable experience all by itself? Okay, so the researchers put all this together into a statistical model. On the left side here, you've got our 5 psychological keys: usefulness, pleasure, and all the rest. And those arrows are pointing to our overall attitude on the right. Basically, they measured how much each of these keys influences our decision to try the metaverse. The big question is, which of these arrows is the thickest? Which path matters most? So that's the theory. But what actually happened when they tested this on over 300 people? Do these psychological keys really predict whether someone is willing to jump into a virtual world? And the first answer was a huge, resounding yes. The data confirmed it. All 5 of these things: usefulness, ease of use, self-efficacy, curiosity, and pleasure. Every single one of them has a real, positive effect on our attitude towards the metaverse. In other words, they all matter. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, just because they all matter doesn't mean they all matter equally. So what's the most critical piece of the puzzle? Which one of these 5 keys is the real master key for getting us all to log in? And that brings us to the biggest, most important insight from this whole study. Because after crunching all the numbers, a very clear winner emerged. There was one factor that stood head and shoulders above everything else. And here are the results. It's pretty fascinating. This chart ranks the top 3 most powerful factors. And the runaway winner, with the highest impact by far, is perceived pleasure. That's right. The single biggest predictor of whether we'll embrace the metaverse is how much pure fun we think it'll be. It beats out curiosity, and it even beats out our own confidence with tech. Fun isn't just a nice little feature, it is the main event. And this really highlights the study's most surprising discovery. While enjoyment matters most, the data also showed what matters least, and that was how easy the tech is to use. So think about that. When you put them head to head, our desire for a fun time completely crushes any worries we might have about a steep learning curve. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The study's conclusion says it all, right there in black and white. Perceived enjoyment emerges as the most influential motivating factor, with ease of use being the least influential of all factors. That is a huge finding for anyone building, investing in, or even just thinking about the metaverse. So, what does this all mean for the future? If we know that fun is the #1 driver,
What are the big takeaways for actually building and using these new virtual worlds?
Well, first, this model isn't just a theory. It's incredibly powerful. Think about this. Together, these 5 factors can explain over 62% of what shapes a person's attitude toward the metaverse. That's not guesswork. That's a seriously strong predictive tool. So for anyone building these things, the message is crystal clear. You have to lead with enjoyment. Create experiences that are just plain fun, and use curiosity as the gateway to pull people in. Usefulness and ease of use, yeah, they're important, but they're the supporting characters in the story. They are not the hero.
And that kind of leaves us with one final big question. If the success of this multi-billion-dollar bet on the future of the internet really just boils down to one simple thing, how enjoyable it is, then that forces us all to ask, what would a truly fun virtual world actually look like for you?